Pat, you are live.
Warm welcome to everybody in my diveLIVE family, no matter where you're tuning in from in the world. My name is Pat, and I'm going to be your underwater biologist today. We have the South African Rian on camera, and up on the surface from Scotland, we have Lauren as your topside marine biologist. Now today, I am directly out the front of Don Foster's Dive Centre here on the western side of Grand Cayman Island. I'm only on the very shallow side of the reef, so I'm on the crest, the start of the reef, and I am at 5 meters exactly, so just over 15 feet deep. Now today, I'm going to be looking out for an eagle ray. There was one spotted this morning on Lauren's dive, and just as we were paddling out, our other cameraman Emil saw one actually breaching the water. So we're going to look around this area. We're going to start on the crest of the reef, head along it until we're around the boats, and then we're going to head out a little bit deeper to the sand patch. So come diving with me, and I'll hand it up to Lauren.
Thank you, Pat. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the second dive of today. So the first dive was very exciting with 2 different ray species and a turtle. So we're hoping that this dive is even better. So please do send in any questions or any requests that you have, and as always, we will do our best. So if you send them on Twitter, please make sure you use the hashtag diveLIVE, and you can also use YouTube and Facebook. So welcome Mike. He is saying this is his first ever diveLIVE, so thank you for joining us. Just watch the dive, and if you do have any questions, you can just type them in the chat. So Pat, I am hoping to see a moray eel or a scribbled filefish.
Hey Lauren, is it possible for either you two to speak closer to the mic or to get Jared to turn the volume up?
Yep, I will get Jared on that right away.
Thank you.
So it looks really beautiful down there.
Yeah, the colours are great at the moment, so there is a bit of cloud coverage around, but I think we've just managed to get a nice glimpse of the sun. How is it up on the surface there, Lauren?
So Pat, can we just get you to check that little connector in your cables as you're swimming along?
Yeah.
And yes, a few people heard that foghorn. There is a very large ship nearby us on the surface, and it did just... Oh, there we go. It is sounding its horn just for you guys. So it's not coming from underwater, it is coming from the surface, and our mic is able to pick it up. So Lara Moore would like more rays, and absolutely so would I. So Richard was asking Pat, are the eagle rays seasonal? Do they migrate, or are they around year round?
The eagle rays?
Yes.
So the eagle rays, I'm not sure if they migrate. Do you know, Lauren?
Generally, they don't do long distance migrations. They tend to hang around the reefs, but they're not quite so territorial as, say, turtles, so they can move from reef to reef, but they do stay close to their feeding grounds, and they're constantly moving. These animals are not able to stop swimming, so they can just swim all day around the reefs that they like to feed on.
Now, I did say that I'm going to be looking for an eagle ray or a turtle today, but we do have this new zoom capability, and we have been picking up a lot of new little species that we don't really see very often. So if I do come past something small and unusual, I will definitely be pointing it out today. So Lauren, do you have those ID books on the ready?
They are right next to me, and me and Pat decided that on each dive we're going to try and show you a new species of fish. We actually have one on camera right now. If Rian can stay with it, I will try and ID it. Bear with me. Can you see it, Pat?
Can I see the fish?
Oh, we have a harlequin bass.
Yes.
So that wasn't the one I was going to ID, but we do have a harlequin bass right in front of us. Look at that.
Now, they don't really look like a bass in the terms of their typical shape. This one definitely has a more cigar-shaped body.
Yeah, we did actually spot this on a live dive a few weeks ago and we weren't able to ID it, so it is a new one for our species list. It's incredibly beautiful and it is part of the bass family, which, believe it or not, are very closely related to both groupers and hamlets. So Marcy, yes, that was the black and white fish ahead. Pat can give us a size estimate on it, and that is the harlequin bass.
So that one is about 10 centimeters or 4 inches long.
And Richard is still looking for that frogfish, and so am I. They have been reported around here, but not very common. They're one of my favorites, and I would just love to see a frogfish. So you would probably spot one before we would, Richard, I imagine.
So, I'm just gonna keep moving on this way. Hang on, Rihanna, do you know we're around the boats? Are we past the boats? Alright, so we're gonna head out a bit deeper now. Because we don't want the cables to get caught in the boat. So now that we're around it, we're going to head out deeper and hopefully spot a spotted eagle ray.
Well, on that, James is asking, what is the purpose for something like an eagle ray to breach? Now, that is a great question, and we've just been discussing it. With regards to eagle rays, it's not extensively studied, but it is studied in the likes of the manta rays. And there are a few different scientific arguments to it. There is some people that believe it's to shake off parasites and to get rid of things that are maybe hovering or trying to attach onto their bodies. There is another theory that's been looked into that it could be for communication. It could be a social technique when they breach. They're either trying to communicate, or the third theory is that they just do it for fun. They enjoy it. They have these incredible, powerful wings, which are actually just their fins, but they look like wings, and they can just propel themselves up a little bit through the water. So it's a great question, and it's something that I am really interested in and did actually study when I was in Mexico with regards to manta rays. So I'm not sure how to pronounce this, but we'll go with Phoebe. Is looking for a nudibranch, Pat. So get your eagle eyes open. Rian is good at spotting the nudibranch, so fingers crossed.
Yeah, we did great to get a nudie. We have not seen one here live at all. We have seen one. Oh, we've got a golden variation of the coney here. So we did show this fish the other day.
Ooh.
And we didn't actually know exactly what it was, but we do know now that it is a coney. That's spelled K-O-N-E-Y. And this is its golden colour variation, which I have heard is actually quite rare to find.
Yeah, and that was another fish we were a bit stuck on the other day, and we've seen it again for the second time. So it's a beautiful golden coney, which is part of the grouper family. Now, normally they have blue spots on their body, but I don't see many blue spots on this one, just one under the eye. and maybe one towards the tail, but it looks almost completely yellow. Is that right, Pat?
Yeah, pretty much. There is 2 or 3 spots underneath the eye, but apart from that, it is just completely solid yellow. Now, I believe that conies are part of the groupers. So we can see that they do resemble the structure and general morphology of a grouper, with the big, frowning, robust jaws and a very streamlined, muscular body.
Yeah, you can see those big grumpy looking jaws, and groupers are famous for opening their big mouths and sort of creating a vacuum suction where they're able to just suck in the prey, and they generally swallow everything whole. They do not spend any time chewing. So Chris is watching he's part of the diveLIVE family. Hi Chris, I don't quite understand your question about eagle rays, but please do send it in again and I will try to answer it. And CJ noticed the lateral line on this coney, so you can see down the left side and the right side of the body there is a visible line, which Pat can tell you all about. Did you get that, Pat?
Sorry, can you please repeat what you said?
CJ is asking about the lateral line. He can see it on the side of this coney, so you're an expert on that.
So the lateral line, actually, yeah, it does show up quite well on this coney. So when we refer to the lateral line, we're talking about a literal line that runs from the top of the operculum there, which is the gill covering, right down through the tail or the caudal fin. So this lateral line is constructed of lots of pores along the line, and inside the pores there is a little hair-like structure. Now this can detect changes in the water pressure and therefore movement. So it is like it is a sensory organ. It gives them an extra feel for things when sight and smell is not enough. So fish are really sensitive to a lot of different things here in the water, which is what makes them so aware of their surrounding environment.
Yeah, and we got a great look at that lateral line. It's not so easy to see in all the fish, and CJ, I apologize, you're a woman, but great for noticing that really striking lateral line. So Paula, I think Pat just answered the question for you, but Lynn would like a size estimate for the coney, Pat.
Yeah, so this one was about 40, maybe even 30 centimeters, so about 15 inches long. And now, since we've mentioned the lateral line, why don't we go over the rest of the fish's anatomy to help with whatever you may need for identification. So, if we can go back onto that pony.
Oh, have we lost it?
Sorry?
Oh, we still have it. Perfect.
So, firstly, we have the most simple and most obvious structure, and that is the eye sitting towards the front of the animal, and just underneath that is the mouth and jaws. Now, whatever passes through the jaws will make its way down into the stomach where it is digested. Now, just behind the eyes and the jaws, you can see that structure that's opening and closing right now, and that is the operculum. What this functions as is a covering for the animal's gills. So it allows for the gills to be protected, to filter water, the oxygen, but it also allows water still to pass through by having that little opening there. then on the top we have the dorsal fin. So the dorsal fin is the fin on top side of the fish, or the fish's dorsal surface. Now opposite to that, on the underside we have the ventral fin towards the front of the fish. So the ventral side is the bottom side, so we have a ventral fin, and then there's usually a second fin on the underside too towards the rear of the animal, and we call that the anal fin. Now, second to last, on the sides, on either side, there is a pectoral fin. So if you think of pectorals, just like your chest, it is their chest fins essentially on the side of their body. And then finally at the back we have the tail. Now we do have a special name for this tail, and it is the caudal fin, spelled C-A-U-D-A-L. So that is just the basic anatomy of a fish. Now, some fish are highly modified and will have fins in different places, and 2 or 3 sets of fins on one surface, or they might have cirri or special feeling appendages around their mouth and their bodies, or modified spines. But that is just the basic anatomy of a fish. And now it looks like this pony has found itself a very nice little sleeping or resting spot. So let's leave him be and see what else we can find.
It's so cute. Lara Moore was asking what's the word for the covering of the aperture, and it's operculum. So it's O-P-E-R-C-U-L-U-M, operculum. So I have a really good question for you, Pat, from Ellen. Do the different fish species have their own territories that they live in, and they sort of claim as their own?
Can you please repeat that?
So basically, do the different fish species have their own territories?
Well, that's a bit of a tough one to answer. It kind of depends on what species of fish it is. So a lot of fish will be territorial, but others more aggressive. For example, the damselfish. Now it controls a very small territory. A damselfish will only be, 30, 40 centimeters wide. And this is because the damselfish, it actually farms its algae in a way, or grows algae in this patch. So that's its patch of food. So if anything else wants to come and graze on it or eat the algae, it's going to defend it viciously. Now, there's not only food that defines a territory. So with parrotfish or wrasses, they have harems. And what a harem is an area that they have all of their females in. Now they have to look after and care for the females and provide protection for them, and in return they can mate with them. So they will defend this territory against other males because it's their territory and it's their female. So it really does depend on the species of fish. And secondly, how aggressively this fish will defend their territory. Now, I'll just pass it back up to you, Lauren. I'm just going to fix up this cable here.
Sure, yeah, that was completely correct, Pat. They all have different social communities, different hierarchies, and different modes of survival. So the territory of a big predatory carnivorous fish will be different from that of a small herbivorous fish that hides in the reef. Great question, though. Thank you, Ellen.
Yeah, that was a good question. And if you have any more questions like that, do not hesitate to drop them in using the hashtag diveLIVE if you're on Twitter. And if you're on Facebook or YouTube, just send them in and we'll see it anyway.
Well, we do have another good one that I don't actually know the answer to, so I hope you do, Pat. Craig is asking, how far away from the lateral line can the fish feel the change in pressure? So sort of what is the range?
Sorry, I couldn't hear that.
No worries, I'll say it again. How far away from the lateral line can the fish feel the changes in pressure?
Oh, geez, that one stumped me straight away. I honestly do not know the answer to that. Do you, Lauren?
I don't, but I do believe it does depend on the species. I know we say that a lot, but a much bigger fish will have a much larger lateral line containing more of these pores. But I really genuinely don't know. So thank you, Craig. That will be one that we need to look up and get back to you on.
We do love a good question like that gets us thinking.
Yeah, your questions help us to learn as well. We don't know everything. It's a huge learning experience for us as well, which we are immensely enjoying. And you can see that Pat is hovering above a sandy patch right now. So this is always a great area to look for moray eels, small little rays hiding out, and lots of different animals using the sand for camouflage.
Okay, so I'm not really finding a whole heap out here in this area right now. So I'm actually going to go a bit shallower now because the last few days, that's been where all the action has been. It's been kind of between the reef crest and the hard pan area, which is the kind of algae-ridden limestone flat area between the reef and the land. So I'm going to come up over this point here and then head in a bit shallower and see what we can see down there.
Sure, and Chris is asking, what depth are you at?
Right now, I am at 12 meters deep. So that is about 40 feet down.
Yes, and I got a better explanation on his question. So Chris is asking, do eagle rays do the thing which whale sharks do, where they go vertical in the water? And that is, we call that suction feeding. But yes, I understand what you mean by bottling now, sorry. No, eagle rays do not do that. Both manta rays and whale sharks are filter feeders, so they use the great big mouth to suck in lots of plankton, whereas eagle rays are actually, they use their strong jaws to crunch on shellfish, lots of different crustaceans and mollusks. So no, they don't do that, but thank you for the great question.
Whoa, massive grouper just was underneath me. I honestly did not even see this fella here until after I swam over. He was sitting very still and very well camouflaged. So this is a tiger grouper down here, and it is a big one. I would say probably bang on a meter from tail to tip.
Oh, we got it now. I see what you mean about it being really camouflaged. Yes, we have it. So we saw a coney earlier, and this is a very, very close relative, the tiger grouper.
So yeah, so I said this one's about a meter, probably about 4 feet, 3 to 4 foot long, and its head is huge. Its body, it kind of tapers down the body, down the pectoral sides. So its head looks almost like a catfish or something like that. It's very big. And I can imagine a grouper of this size would be preying on smaller, not juvenile fish, but smaller fish. And also the odd crustacean, lobster or squid.
Oh, well, it just opens its mouth and we got a great view right down into the gullet. That was great, Rian. So there sometimes can be confusion when identifying groupers, but we can see the stripes, the bars going down the side of the body, and that's how we know it's the tiger grouper. And this will have the same feeding mechanism where it draws the prey in and swallows them whole. So Marcy's asking, is it being cleaned? Most likely, which is why it probably opened its mouth. I can't see any cleaner fish or any cleaner shrimp just now, but most likely I would imagine it's cleaning time.
Yeah, I couldn't see any cleaning fish on it either, but groupers do tend to sit very still a lot of the time. Even when they're not being cleaned, they will generally stay very still and sit on one spot for camouflage.
And Take Care is laughing that we said little teeth. They are actually quite little in comparison to some of the fish's teeth down there, but yes, they are a bit scary looking. Pat, do we get the Goliath groupers there? Crazy for Safaris is asking.
Yes, we do. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to see one live. But yes, we do get the Goliath grouper, and they can get very large. They can get up to 8 feet long. So these guys are enormous. Unfortunately though, they are very elusive.
So you might not have seen this, Pat, because normally the underwater biologist just stays a little bit back from the cameraman so that we don't disturb the animal that's in front. However, that grouper actually had a really big hole or marking under its eye. So Marcy was asking, I wonder what that is. And I have no idea. I haven't seen it before. Have we lost track of the tiger grouper, Pat?
Yes.
No worries. It did have a funny marking. I really don't know what that was, but I think it could possibly be an injury. And James is loving the zoom capabilities as well, and so are we. It's like opening it up into a whole new world. We're able to show you things that we quite weren't able to show you before because we weren't able to get close enough.
So this current today is absolutely roaring through. We're having quite a hard time trying to stay on the right path right now.
Well, Zach is asking, Pat, what fish down here would you say is the most dangerous?
What fish is the most dangerous?
Yes.
Well, I would say that would have to be the scorpion fish or the stonefish. So there are a few animals down here that have a lot of toxins, such as the porcupine fish or the lionfish. But these animals generally are not threatening. And you can see them pretty well. It's not very likely that you would accidentally stand on one or anything like that. But these scorpion fish and stonefish, they are impossible to spot. They camouflage ridiculously well with their environment. So I would say they are probably the most dangerous to us down here.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. Not aggressive, but definitely have all that venom which could seriously harm you.
Yeah, the animals of Grand Cayman, the marine life, is actually very placid. I know back home in South Australia, there's a few things back there that kind of make you think about before you get into the water. But here, you just don't get that sense of danger at all. So it's a very mellow, placid environment here.
It's not even in the water in Australia, Pat. Those big spiders you have put me off for life.
Yeah. Yeah, land or water, pretty much everything just wants to kill us.
Lady Starfire's daughter Tesla is asking, what does a tiger grouper eat, Pat?
What was the question?
What does a tiger grouper eat?
Tiger grouper eats a whole range of things. So they can eat small fish, even some larger fish, especially with the ones as big as the one we saw before. They also eat squids and other crustaceans and some mollusks too. Now, geez, this current is ripping me, so I'm not sure if you can notice this, but I'm not finning at all, and I'm just floating right now. I'm being pushed this way by the current.
You look like a manta ray. So Marcy's asking for an air check.
Yep. So, where's the camera? There we are. I am on 100 bar.
Perfect. So a lot of people are interested of when we talk about bar. So this is just how much air we have left in our scuba tank. So normally we start around 210, 220 bar. And we end the dive on 50 bar as Pat needs to reach the surface and do a safety stop before returning. So that's what we are talking about. We must make sure he never runs out of air, which he won't. And in America, they do use PSI instead of bar, but that is a really tricky conversion for us. We do normally just say bar.
Now, speaking of little fish that we haven't seen,
Ooh.
I don't know what this one is, but Rian, come here. There is a little fish here. It kind of looks like a small damselfish. I actually believe that this one might be called the cherub fish.
Oh, I've been hoping to see one of them. Okay, right. Let me get this ID book out. We're trying to ID a new species, just one on every dive.
So this one is 2.5 centimeters long, so about an inch. It is tiny.
Yeah, he's moving quite skittishly. It is tricky to get an ID, but bear with me. I am looking at the book. Okay, it would be good to get another look, but this one could possibly be a few damselfish. There's quite a few that look similar, and they're in their juvenile phase. So before I say it, are we able to get another look at it, Rian? Or has it swam off? Oh, there we go. Okay, I think this is the cocoa damselfish. Yes, it has that spot at the back, but it's very similar to the Blue Gregory. So I would say this is the cocoa damselfish.
So just to give us all an idea of how you got to that, can you let us know like how you identified this fish line?
Sure. So of course me and Pat, we both don't know all the fish in the ocean, but we do know our families. So when you're first learning to ID fish, the first probably thing you will tackle is the families. Now this is a grouping together of fish, like for example the angelfish or the butterfly fish. This is a grouping of different species. So for example, the angelfish family contains 8 different species here in the Caribbean. So when we look at a fish, oh, is that a spotted drum? Oh, nice.
Oh, beautiful.
Beautiful. We did get this wrong before, so I'm just making sure we are right this time. And we've also got some arrow blennies. A lot of fish, another fishy dive for Pat. So as I was saying, we look at the body shape, and that way we will normally be able to identify the families. And then we look at the markings and distinguishable features before we make the decision on which species it is. You're lucky today, Pat.
Yeah, so got a couple of different fish right now. Well, I wasn't as lucky as you were this morning, Lauren.
I can confirm this black and white one is the spotted drum juvenile. It's very similar to the jackknife. So there's just small differences that you need to look for, but this one is the spotted drum. And the fish right in front of it, the tiny one, that is an arrow blenny. Now I don't know, but I would imagine this is just a few centimeters long.
Yeah. Probably just under 2 inches, so just under 5 centimeters. But isn't this spotted drum just absolutely mesmerizing to watch swim?
It's so beautiful, and I have watched them before on other dives where they just tend to swim over the same area back and forth all day long. They really don't move far from the territory, and they look completely different from their adult phase. So as I mentioned, this is the juvenile, and the adult almost looks like a completely different fish. The adult does have spots, which is probably why it's called the spotted drum. The juvenile does not. So you can see it has this really long, exaggerated dorsal fin. It's very elaborate. Well, as it becomes older and enters into the intermediate phase, this dorsal fin will shorten. And by the time it reaches the adult phase, it will be much shorter and nowhere near as elaborate as it is as a juvenile. So they do feed out in the open at night time. So right now it is resting or hiding out, and it's very common for it to swim in these established circle patterns. That is a significant behavior of the spotted drum. So at night time, this animal will become a lot more active. So this is definitely a new one for our species list, as well as the cocoa damselfish.
Yeah, so hit 2 today, that's good.
So Marcy's asking about age. So what age would these spots come out? And that's difficult to say, the aging of fish. I really don't know each specific species. So I'm not able to answer that. It's all really different for each animal. But it's normally termed as juvenile when it's below 1.5 inches. And then it moves into its intermediate phase, and then it safely reaches adult size by 9 inches. But ages, I'm afraid I'm not sure about that. And I would love to see an adult too. Wouldn't that be great, Pat? So Richard mentioned that the adults look boring in comparison, and I completely agree. The juvenile phase is much more elegant. So is there any other fish we can try to ID?
Alright everyone, well, I'm going to have to end the dive as I've hit 50 bar. So thank you all very much for joining me down here today. It was nice to see a couple of rarer things. We will be back tomorrow, 7 AM and 11 AM Grand Cayman time. I hope to see you all there.
Thank you, everyone. That was a little lobster in the hole there. We'll get you a lobster the next time. So thank you, Pat, and we'll see you tomorrow at 7 AM.